River White Salmon Bridge.
Okay.
It's 2 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and start our September 22nd Hood River White Salmon Bridge Authority meeting. Start first off with call to order, looking around the room. First, I'm here. Mike Fox, Arthur Babbitts is in attendance. Grant Paulson is in attendance. Catherine Thomas is on video. Mark Flaming is here. Jake Edwards, I see, is on the video.
And Ben is there also.
Dennis.
Ben Berger.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see him. Okay, great. Thank you, Ben. So we do have a quorum. Everybody should have seen the agenda. Is there any modifications, additions to the agenda?
Nope.
If not, could I have a motion to accept the agenda as is?
That we use the agenda as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, carries. Public comment, 3 minutes per person, 30-minute maximum. Is there nobody in the room? How about on the video? Is there any? Yes. I can't read your name. Is it Kurt? Kurt?
Yep, this is Kurt Amos. I'm a resident of White Salmon.
Okay, thank you, Kurt. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one comment and one question. First, the comment is to the staff and the board. Thank you very much for everything that you do for this process. It's probably a very lonely job. I can imagine. I've been on a board before and I've never worked so hard to have no recognition and no payment. So I appreciate all the efforts that you're doing on behalf of all the citizens of White Salmon and Hood River. The bridge is critically important, as we all know, but I don't think that you're going to hear from the residents how important it is to them. There's probably a very silent majority who appreciates all your efforts, but are not saying it. So I just wanted to join and say thank you.
Thank you for that.
My question is, in these meetings, is there certain feedback from the public that you would like to hear from us?
Well, I would say we're open to anything that the public wants to tell us. We'll consider everything. We haven't had, and I'm going to speak for myself, we haven't had a great deal of feedback from the general public, other than hurry it up, get the bridge built. And we're right there with them. We want to get it built as quick as we can too.
Yeah.
I suspect we'll have a lot of opinions when design documents start to come out.
Yeah, and Kurt, you probably know we signed a contract with Kiewit last week to move into full design. That will take place over the next 21 months. During that period of time, there will be a lot of engagement between our owner's rep, HNTB, and Kiewit, and the authority, looking at various elements of it. And where needed, we will certainly, well, we're going to share everything with the public, so there's no surprise. But we'll keep everybody informed on how we're progressing.
Yeah, I would also say that the transparency of what you've run this for the last several years has been really admirable. I can find everything that I need in the minutes. I read through the minutes. The design questionnaire that you sent out, I think that was over maybe 2 years ago, was phenomenal. So yeah, just again, I have no critiques or criticisms. Keep doing what you're doing, and have great appreciation for staff and board.
Thank you, Kurt. Is there anybody else wants to raise an issue, question, make a comment from the public? Okay, with that, let's move into the executive reports. I don't see Jake on?
Yeah, he's on, or Terry is.
It's a minute ago, yep.
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Hi, Jake.
I would just
Hey,
say, well, thank you for the kind words from the public. I think that's all we needed to hear for the next year, and we can keep continuing on with one set of kind words, and maybe next year we'll hear from somebody else saying something nice. But thank you for logging on and being a part of what we do.
Just give a couple of thoughts. Last week on Tuesday, after we had the kickoff for design, HNTB and Kiewit had a whole series of standard interchange meetings on various aspects of design. I sat through almost every one of them for the day and I was doing kind of a check. I wanted to make sure that everybody was playing nice. We had the same goals in mind. People were talking openly and freely within the teams, and I can tell you that's exactly what I saw. I was really happy with the interchange and the discussions that took place, and I think we're off to a really good start. Everybody seemed to be very much aware that we have a tight budget here, and we have to design to what we anticipate to have for funding. So I think we're off to the right start. There's some decisions that we're going to have to make here in the not too distant future that will be coming through the various subcommittees and then up to the authority. And some of those, just a heads up for you, and I know Mike's all over this, is validating the seismic category that we're going to use for our bridge design. And there's an interplay between bridge strike and seismic criteria. But that's coming to a close here pretty quick. So I would expect, that maybe as early as next meeting, we will be coming back here for confirmation of which way we're going to go. Another one that's coming up, and we've kind of talked about this earlier, but we got to make a decision on it, is utility locations on the bridge. We can't let it go much longer than where it is now. The other one that's I think an interesting challenge for us is the North Shore access, to get in there for not only geotechnical work, but also to get foundations built out there. So that's going to draw to a conclusion here very shortly, and we're going to have to be ready to make a decision on that. And then I think that lastly, and I'm glad that Christy is here, and I'm glad Jason's on the team from Kiewit, but it's permits. That's the next big thing that we got to be all over. And I know Christy and Jason are already on it. So I'm very hopeful there. The last thing I just want to mention is we've made really good progress and momentum on this project. We have to keep it up. We can't let it falter. We got to keep driving through design through that 21-month period. I think that's what's going to help us attract the balance of the funds that we need for construction. So as long as we can keep making good progress and we're telling the world what we're doing, I think we're positioned well. Time will tell, though. That's my thoughts as far as a co-chair report.
One question. When you talked about North Shore access, it reminded me of a related issue, which is pool height.
Mhm.
Is the engineering team aware that there's a process for requesting pool height adjustments?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
As long as they know.
Very much so.
Great. That is good news. Yep.
Okay, let's go to Project Director Bridge Report. Mike?
All right, so we continue to coordinate with the treaty tribes. We're back to making progress. FHWA sent an email out last week to Umatilla, somewhat apologizing, but also stating that we're going to go back to not exactly the same, but almost the same MOA that we were at when everybody was ready to sign. So we've got a meeting with them tomorrow, where I think we'll come together and hopefully get back to a position where everybody's ready to sign those documents, which will, I think, still be our first one that we'll do. The team also went down and met with Warm Springs, had a really good conversation with their cultural team, good conversation, good dialogue exchange. So it's good to see Warm Springs getting back engaged with the project. So
I went down on that one, and I can tell you, it was probably the best one that I've attended on all four groups. It had the best discussion. The questions that came back to us during the meeting were really, really good,
This is the Warm Springs or?
Warm Springs. Which kind of surprised me because in the past, they've been,
a little disconnected.
yeah, not really engaged, but they were certainly engaged on Tuesday.
Good to know.
Nez Perce has changed out their legal, but it's back to Marcus, who was on the project previously, so he's very aware of it. So that was good, even though they had a staff change, it was somebody that was very familiar with the project that was coming back on it. We're still continuing on the appraisal. The legal description is still in review by National Park Service and OPRD, just to make sure that we've got all of the angles and bearings and things tied in correctly. So the appraiser has to wait for that official piece back, but I did ask them if there's any way they could give us a preliminary evaluation without getting all the down to the inch, since this is just an interim evaluation anyways. They thought they would have us something in 3 weeks. So I'm pushing to get them to give us that fair market value so we can have an idea of what we're dealing with and can start some additional conversations that that'll lead to. So the CDS funding, it does look like FHWA was optimistic last time I spoke with them that the CDS funds could be separated. They had some conversations with ODOT, congressional directed spending. ODOT was, they had to work out some differences of who and how the money was going to be managed. They were able to come to some agreements on that. So I'm hopeful that that CDS, congressional directed spending funding, will start to move forward now with its own agreement separate from the infra grant. Not a lot of change on the infra grants. Well, one important thing, it doesn't change a ton, but it is an important step. While we were in DC, we did find out that we did get cleared by the administration that our project meets their executive orders goals for federal funding. So that was a big step. I don't think it changes the negotiations or the agreements and things that still need to take place, but it was good that that box is now checked and that we do meet the new administration's ideals for a project. So we also, let me see, just reading through, the Progressive Design Build team is moving forward. Most of their work right now is focused on the bridge monitoring work. They're looking at doing those installs October 13th through the 17th. They did identify 2 locations. We were able to work with them to help identify Mount Adams Fruit, actually, is one of the locations. We're going to go up on the very tippy top of their building. It actually has an excellent platform up there that actually sees about 95% of the bridge very clearly. So we've talked to them. We're working on an agreement with them. That agreement will be brought through the governance committee and then back to the board for a decision on it. But just an access agreement for us to get out there and maintain it. But they've done their testing. It looks like that spot will work really well. The other spot is on SDS's property. Out at the end of theirs, they've got a boat dock that they can set it up on. So again, an agreement with SDS will be coming through the governance committee as well for that. So we'll be bringing that forward. Another piece that'll be coming through the governance committee is insurance. So we will need to start looking as we start owning things and doing things. Or the authorities' insurance needs are changing. So we've reached out to Chubbs and we'll again bring some of that to the governance committee and work with you guys on that to define what kinds of insurance the authority needs to start migrating towards. So
in terms of the bridge monitoring, isn't there, I thought the port said that there's some installation happening this weekend, isn't there?
Yes, I'm sorry, there is. So there's some stuff starting. So they're going to start putting the monitoring prisms and things like that on the piers.
Right.
And then they'll have to come back in. So it's over a number of weeks. that they will be doing these installs. So they'll start putting things on the piers, the prisms and things like that on every pier, getting those set up and tested and installed. And then they'll set up the total stations, and then they'll do a commissioning to make sure everything's working. And then what we're talking about is Kiewit kind of owning that until the end of 1B, rather than transferring it immediately over to the authority. That while they're here and they have the contracts with the installers and equipment manufacturers, that they will just kind of turnkey that over at some point in the future, or when we stop collecting information, whichever comes first.
But usually meant owning the hardware.
Owning the ensuring that it's operating. So the authority will ultimately own the equipment.
Right.
But Kiewit will make sure that it continues to function.
And we own the data.
And the authority will own the data. Yeah. And they're working on exactly where we'll put the server. We've talked to Redcom here about actually doing that. So that's still kind of in discussions of what's the best solution for that. But we'll get with the authority.
If we discuss what information is readily available to the public or not.
No, not yet. That, I think once we understand all of the data we're collecting, then we can sit down and go through that of, I don't think any of it's going to be really like proprietary or anything like that I can foresee. It's just going to be information. So,
well, then I just imagine people want to know what the wind speed is.
Yeah. And, yep. Yeah. So it'll be
coming across.
Yeah. It'll be a new weather station. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't say that. It'll be interesting to see how much that existing bridge moves. I think it's always surprising to people how much a bridge actually moves. So I think when we get that data, it'll be interesting to see.
I was standing on it when the marching band came across, and you could feel the whole thing. You could tell, 100 yards away, you could tell that they were coming.
No, the guys on the repairs, when we had the strike last year, were saying how it moves. So, but all bridges do. So it'll be interesting to see, how much and what that looks like.
So do we have all the agreements we need with the port?
All the port stuff is in place. Kiewit has been coordinating with them about using their boat, about accessing the sites, about doing some possible lane closures, doing some prep on the property there. So I think all that's being well coordinated. We've been kind of monitoring that. Looks like that's moving forward.
And they've agreed on how we're going to act. Is we get access to the top of the pier.
Yeah.
I think they were sending you out there.
With the road.
Yes, no.
That does a lot of the gas line inspections and stuff, that are very familiar with the bridge and how to access it. They're using the same folks to do this. So the other thing is the geotech work. So they're working through the permitting, getting ready to mobilize. They haven't yet. Arthur saw a new boat in the area.
Yeah, and this morning it was around again. There is a drill boat. I mean, it looks like it's got the arm and everything, just like the drill boat they used to have, and it's been kind of bouncing around the area. I was thinking it's just about 50 feet too far to the west.
Yeah.
So I couldn't figure out what was going on. Yeah.
I know Christy may know more about it. I think Army Corps and others are doing some research in the area of the mouth of the river. So maybe
there's frequently reasons for instrumentation.
Whatever boat's out in the river right now.
Coast Guards.
Is that what it is? Okay.
So Christy, did they split the permit where the one drill site over on the North Shore that's been taken out? Okay, so that allows us to get the in-water stuff going.
Everything in the main program has gone in, all the applications.
Okay.
And then the SDS site, the stuff in the flow lane, it's not in. We'll do that next.
And then, but the one on the Washington side with the access discussion is still in the permit.
That one's in.
Okay, and there's no issue right now. There's no issue right now with that delaying anything because of the access.
That one's not delaying.
Right now, they're planning to access from the water.
Yes.
In their plan, they just haven't defined exactly what that looks
It's
like.
not defined yet.
Yeah. Okay. This Wednesday, Christy can elaborate on this. We will get our final comments from Army Corps. They did indicate they will have some comments, so we'll see what those are on Wednesday. Christy's got a couple people standing by to respond to those comments. And we'll get it out to everybody and let you know whether it's a short turnaround or a longer turnaround.
Yeah.
But we'll see what
We don't, unfortunately,
See
don't
what
have
that
any
is.
information on what the comments contain,
Yeah.
which we had hoped to, but they won't share ahead of sending them out.
And then, as Mike said, we did start the task force meeting. So one day got started off, and those will start pretty much every 2 weeks. We'll have those meetings. We are scheduling them as the work dictates. So if we're not doing any signing work right now, those folks won't be meeting. They'll meet later, prioritizing the ones that are working. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, let's go over to government relations.
I did receive some
And I have
questions.
one.
Okay, sorry. I did receive some questions from Commissioner Thomas, and I didn't know where we wanted to address that. Okay. So I got a couple questions. One of them was around the timing of finalizing the right-of-way policy manuals and the appraisal process. So we need to coordinate that with FHWA. So I will get back to you on a defined schedule. That right-of-way is defining their full phase 1B project schedule, and they are integrating that with Kiewit's schedule. Because we're doing the right-of-way, Kiewit is telling us how much we need. But we're doing all the coordination with all the agencies or owners for the right of way. So we'll get you out a full schedule for that. And there will be, depending on, none of this can start fully until after we get the rod. That is the controlling thing for a lot of the right of way. Some of this will be contingent on as far as the appraisal process, whether or not the agencies are donating property, if we're purchasing property. There's also some other, if there's any encumbrances on the property or encumbrances on the property, we would have to deal with anything like that. So the appraisal process might be different depending on what we're actually appraising for and who we're appraising it with. So we'll get a more detailed response to that. Same thing with the next one was about the unresolved issues with tax title lands. We're coordinating with FHWA on that to see if there's an exception based on the authority and the type of agency that it is, and whether or not we have to follow some of that. So they're coordinating that response as well.
I'm sorry, what title lands?
It is how unresolved issues with tax title lands. It's an RCW 3635-150. And it affects acquisition and timing on the Cliff County property.
Okay.
So we're trying to figure out whether it applies or doesn't apply and how much it will apply, and then we'll be able to respond back to what the impacts of that are. Catherine, anything else on those first couple?
And then the environmental permitting questions, Christy answered them, and so thank you for answering them without me asking.
Okay, so the next couple are about the environmental, so we've got those. On the HNTV invoice, I'll just run kind of high level if we can get into any details as much as I can. We're continuing to coordinate on the treaty MOAs, the communications plan. We're also working on finalizing, this is related to the ownership contract and what we're working on. We're also, and this is kind of what we're doing in the last month, not currently because the PDB contract's done, but part of that was finalizing the PDB contract scope and fee and getting to a resolution on that. Working on the geotech exploration plan, making sure that was all laid out properly, the proper coordinations were being planned. Development of project cash flows and project cost estimate updates. So we have those updates now. We'll be sharing those with the engineering committee and showed some of it to the finance committee. So we'll continue to do that as well as setting up processes for tracking trends on the project, commodities, as well as labor and other elements related to the trends. Coordination and setting up of the DC trip was a big effort in the last few weeks. As well as making sure the project website and the authority website were set up to support that. And then we had good information there, and then also getting our social media campaign. Did anybody see any of the posts from DC that we were doing? Because the social committee folks were having fun putting them out there. So I'm hoping somebody saw them. So, and any feedback on them? Did you like them? Did you hate it?
They were professional. They looked great. I was really impressed.
Yeah,
Great.
likewise.
They put a lot of effort into trying to do that. I hope that was going to be the response, but I do want to give a shout out to Dan's group and the group that did put the flyers together. When we met with the White House, the lady that we met with said that that was the most professional, portfolio piece that she has seen. She was extremely impressed with.
Did you ask her how many they saw?
Said I've seen a lot of these.
Started he was very impressed. He thought it was very well done. It communicated the stuff very well. Very complimentary of it. So I thought that was great. So we're also 6F has been a big part of our coordination recently, just in trying to get all the boxes checked that we need to for that appraiser. So that has been a lot of effort, including trying to make sure properties that are in the process of being sold can count in the future. So there's one property that's actually being sold right now that we want to make sure we kind of put a stake in that says, hey, we might want to use this as a mitigation parcel in the future. So making sure that was done. Survey support for all of that. Developing the boundary descriptions and those things that had to go along with that. Getting set up and coordinating with Kiewit just to get the project restarted, getting all our org charts and connecting people again and getting task force meetings and all of that set up. Also on top of the PDB submittals that are still coming in as far as, finalizing design criteria, making sure all the base comments from 1A were getting carried into 1B, making sure all that was coordinated. Also grant administration and coordination with WSBA, ODOT, and FHWA. We finally, has the last person signed yet, Cal?
Not yet. Almost.
So we're almost done signing the indirect cost signature, so we're waiting on.
It was the last gentleman. I'll do another reminder.
So FHWA has signed, the authority has signed. And one more outstanding person.
Yes.
I think there's one more.
It is Michael Swift.
With WSBA.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll follow up with that. Okay. And yeah, that was most of what we were doing, as well as coordinating with the bridge monitoring and.
You do a pretty good job in your monthly or your every 2-week report out. Gives a pretty good feel for what HNTB is bringing to the party. I think as you proceed forward in 1B, as Kiewit has developed their schedule, you need to have yours on top of it. And that will typically answer a lot of the invoice type questions. What have you been working on kind of?
Yes, and we try to do also every sub submits a project progress report, every invoice, so communicated, and a lot of the bridge report is that we do on this meeting is also.
This is only going to get wilder and bigger as we move forward.
There will be lots of things going on for the next 21 months.
So, the geotech, like, is there, are they drilling one hole per pier?
We are doing
How's-
one hole per shaft.
Per shaft, so for each piling.
Per pier.
So there's two per pier.
4 at the ones where there's 4. And then we have a allowance that if we see some anomaly, then we will do additional holes.
Okay.
So, and those, it could be anything. One of the concerns is, and I don't know how much this maybe there's a geologist in the room that can tell us we're crazy, but one of the concerns is because of the way the basalt columns happen.
Right.
If you just happen to hit one of those holes in the column,
right,
on where you're going to put a shaft, you'd want to know that before you start pulling concrete to, 100 feet below the ground. We want to know that there's a big hole there, right? So that's kind of the things that we would be trying to find and look at. Now, you're taking a 2-inch hole in a 9 to 10 foot diameter. So,
when you say hole, you're talking about the
boring hole, the sampling hole.
Oh, okay, but I mean, the salt is a crystal, right? So you're talking about, you're worried about fractures?
The fractures in it, or if it's like when it's above the ground, right, there's a lot of vertical columns.
Yeah.
So if you have
those are crystals, yeah,
hit on the side of one of those,
right,
and half your shaft was sitting on the solid part and half of it was where there was, a valley in between the next part, you're gonna have a hole in the bottom of your shaft that you're trying to fill. So we want to try to find those as best we can. I mean, that's a risk of the geotech of not knowing, and that's kind of the variations that we'll be looking for. And if we need to do additional borings, we've got the allowance to do that. But one of the cost savings that we had was out of the reduction from 4 shafts to 2 shafts.
Right.
Was only needing to do 2 borings versus 4 borings.
Okay. And these engineers have worked on bridges on basalt
Absolutely.
before.
Up
This is
and down
pretty
all
common.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, all over. So,
Okay.
yep.
I have 2 things, and just a preface before is the permitting program for this is very large, the 48 some and I will not be coming to you every time we do something or submit something, just so you know. But if there's things that are public facing, I want the board to hear it from me before it becomes public. And so we have 2 things that are coming up in the next few months, and I just want you to be aware of them. One is we're refreshing the navigation impact report, which was first done in 2019. And as part of that, we do a river users survey. That's pretty much blanketing anybody who we think potentially operates something fairly large on the river that has to pass below the bridge at any time. And the reason the Corps asked us to update that was the data is from 2018, 2019, and it's based on a 2016 set of guidance, which was updated this year. So with those 2 strikes, our navigation impacts report is a little dated. And the Corps is going to be issuing a permit in the next 12 months or so, and they want to be able to check the box that that information is up to date. So we think the survey will go out probably the end of the month, maybe a little sooner. We'll be also using the communications folks and social to just let people know we're interested. If you're operating something on the river, a fairly large size, that needs to pass below the bridge, we want to know about it.
Is this for construction phase or for?
But it's a design question, really,
Design.
that we're answering. The navigation impact report sets the bridge opening, the large structure over the navigation channel.
That's how the 90 foot and the 450 foot gets set.
But we don't have any expectation that there's going to be a requirement to change that, right? That's
No.
Coast Guard said they're aware of new users, but they don't anticipate that the design standards will be required to change.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We're just going to try to capture those new users.
Extended that span quite a bit.
No.
The main span was the same.
Yeah, no, I don't think we changed. It was the same. Yeah. It was always 450.
But that's still quite a bit bigger than.
Quite what we have. Just about twice.
Yeah, higher and wider, and everyone, I hope the feedback we get is that people are thrilled and can't wait for it to happen.
I know the barge operators will be.
Yeah, that should be good. And then the second one is that we're moving forward with SEPA in the state of Washington. And if you follow a SEPA process, there will be a public announcement put out by WashDOT that says they're going to make a decision. This is our preliminary decision, and they're open for comments. Usually it's 15 days. It could be extended to 30 days. We expect it to happen end of October, beginning of November, sometime around then.
What is SEPA? What is it?
SEPA is the Washington State Environmental Policy Act that requires a disclosure of potential environmental impacts.
But doesn't it kind of mimic our federal document?
It does, and these days it actually exceeds the NEPA requirements. So in order to accommodate that, we've written a SEPA addendum.
Okay.
And that's all update for permitting.
Okay, let's move over to Dan. Talk to us about what happened in DC.
Thanks, Chair Fox. Yes, like Mike has already said a little bit about the trip to DC, a lot of the comm and government relations efforts the last month were focused on getting ready for that, getting our project messaging aligned, getting our website up to date, materials, social media plan, et cetera. So just as a review, last week, the project delegation spent 3 days in DC, 3 days at least doing meetings in DC, Monday through Wednesday. Of course, our goals were delivering a project update, conveying milestones, momentum, and advocating for the final piece of federal funding that would allow us to move into construction in 2027. So we met with members of Congress and representatives from the federal agencies. So we touched all 4 Pacific Northwest Senate offices and the 3 relevant House offices. Mike, Commissioner Thomas, Eric, if he's on, fill in what I miss here. But, with our congressional meetings, it felt like we got a universally great response from folks, compliments on what we've accomplished since the last time we've been in DC, which was, I guess, in March of this year. So, we've secured our full state match, approaching the record of decision, signed a contract for design with Kiewit. So all good things to convey to show that project momentum. Each of the offices that we've met with either have already or are about to send letters of support into Secretary Duffy, supporting our bridge investment program application. So, I thought our team did a really good job in those meetings, just keeping up the relationship. These are all offices we've been meeting with periodically over the past several years. So I think some real value in them seeing familiar faces, getting the updates. Over on the agency side, we had 3 different meetings. The first with a gentleman from the Build America Bureau who's responsible for processing our TIFIA loan application. We also met with a staffer from the intergovernmental organization within the White House, and then a broader US DOT meeting with folks from Federal Highways in the office of the Secretary. Those meetings were a little bit more background, a lot of new folks coming in with the new administration. So we gave a little bit of background about the project, where we're situated, why the project is important, and why we think it's a good investment for additional federal dollars. So obviously those we've got 2 BIP applications in Bridge Investment Program grants funding applications and the agency folks are typically part of the team that reviews those. These are highly competitive federal dollars, so understandably they're very tight-lipped and don't show their cards in those meetings. But I think we did a great job making the case for the project. They also didn't give us much information on timeline, but we expect to hear back on the 2 fiscal years probably by next spring. Catherine, Mike, anything I'm missing
The only
here?
thing I would add is, we did stress our timeline and our schedule and the importance of the federal money and how we're meeting the requirements of that program. And we check all the boxes for that program, as well as that program checking our final box, which allows us to get to construction and under this administration. So we made sure to clarify that and make sure they understood that, this is a project that's ready to turn dirt, as Catherine would say it. But, we just wanted to make sure they knew that. We tried to stress that heavily in every meeting.
Do we have a project officer who's responsible for our applications to the BIP, and do we ever get to meet with them directly?
When you say project officer on the federal side,
Yeah.
we typically always work through the division, and the division works with the infra grant manager in headquarters. So we did have a specific grant liaison. When they cut staff, that was one of the positions they cut out of the division. So we now have to go through project manager for them, which is covering and wearing multiple hats. So
Is there a specific individual for the bridge investment program?
we do not have a specific person for the bridge now.
Okay.
Now,
Is that
Tiffany, we did.
Sabrina or no? Sabrina or Zan? On the federal
Not-
side?
Not directly for this project, no. We do for TIFIA. We have a lady, Lucinda Eagle, who is our kind of direct project person on the West Coast for our project. But typically all other grant coordination for the feds goes through the division.
And I think at this phase, when it's just, the NOFA was, the notice of funding was open.
Yeah.
We and others applied for it. That all just lives way up the food chain in DC at the office of the secretary.
Yeah, you just submit it online and it goes into their whole.
Yeah, we're just an applicant until it's approved, and then they assign us to.
Then when you get into the grant agreement, there's maybe a little more specific people that you work with, but again, it goes through the division and to them.
Yeah.
We've requested meetings with them, but talk about specific topics. We've got one actually right now based on their latest comments on our infra application, because they kind of differing in what we've been asked to do in the past. So we've requested a meeting with the division and headquarters staff just to go through the specifics of what they're asking for, which direction they want us to go.
Catherine, any other comments?
No, I just say that I would really like to highlight the amount of work that the team did with us to make sure we were prepared and could answer all the questions. So congratulations. I really enjoyed working with our lobbyists and Dan and your whole team. And, I got calls about the social from people that I didn't know had my cell phone number. So congratulations to that. I also just wanted to highlight that the BAP, they did not give us any timelines. And so that causes me some concern for the amount of time it takes between us getting notified and when it's actually inside our cash flow. So just for the public, just because you get a grant application or award does not mean you actually have that money. So that's something just to think about for cash flow. So, but I think Dan, you guys covered it. Great job. Thank you, Mike. It was great. And Eric may have something to add if he's able to hop on, but appreciate the time.
Thank you. Let's move on to partner updates.
I just want to comment. I really, looking at this for sure, I really like the whoever's idea it was to put those little icons floating around. That's kind of makes it kind of fun. You have the potato, the wheat, the drones floating through there. It sort of wakes the whole document up.
Sure. We got a lot of feedback in this, including from commissioners. Ben Berger had a great idea to include the information about the UAS ecosystem in the gorge, and that was definitely a key point with the administrative officials. So thanks, everybody.
Okay, let's move to partner updates. Anybody from ODOT or WashDOT or Federal Highways would like to give a quick?
Rob.
I don't have any updates.
Okay, thank you. I saw Roy. Roy, you on?
Oh, yeah.
No?
Oh, that's probably our internal.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, I'm
All
here.
right.
Sorry, I was just on mute and the mute button was being evasive.
Okay.
But I
Thank
am
you.
here. Yeah, happy to give a quick update.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so media relations have been going well. A lot of interest in outreach we've been doing, particularly on background conversations, which is these opportunities for Mike to sit down with reporters from broadcast and print outlets and go a little bit deeper into where the project is and what the sort of next few months are going to look like, and queue up stories and queue up interest and coverage for important upcoming moments. So that's been going really well. We have another one scheduled for this week with Coin News, and then we're working on a couple others still in the background category. And then Dan and I have been talking about what media outreach would look like around a potential ROD signing moment and also potential event ceremony. So that's the quick strokes on the media front.
Thank you. Let's go on down through committee reports. We're going to skip engineering construction since we didn't have one since 2/3 of the team was in DC. So governance and administration.
Nothing that's worth reporting.
Okay. With that, let's move on to.
I think we need to cover the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
gonna ask about that.
Let's move to consent agenda. Can you bring those up?
Minute book well.
Yeah, I'll make those in a second. Now, since we didn't have an engineering construction committee, each of us were supposed to take a look at the document independently. I've looked at it. And then I believe funding and finance have gone through it.
Yep.
And you guys are okay with it?
Yeah.
Assuming. Okay. Is there any further discussion on the invoices as stated here? Any adjustments need to be made, or can I have a motion?
Move to approve the invoices.
I will second that motion, and I will point out you are receiving money, so you may want to abstain.
Okay. A lot of money there.
It's still money.
Still counts.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And
Hi,
Catherine, you need to stand in for me,
Aye.
okay? All opposed? A motion carries. Thank you. We're going to step back, look at the meeting notes from the last meeting. We should have looked at that. Is there any adjustments that need to be made? If not, could I have a motion, please?
Move to approve the minutes from September 8th of 2025.
I'll second that too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, with that, then we'll go to information items. E-project messages discussion. So any other messages that we think we need to be aware of over the next several months that we haven't already talked about? We talked about the rod.
Yeah, I think the only other thing would be just for you all to start thinking about is what level of community updates that we want to do as we progress through design. Different agencies do it differently. One of them would be aesthetics, right? We had an aesthetics memo. I think we owe the public some feedback on that at some point.
Yep.
We can kind of update you when the design team's at a point where we need input and we've got some ideas that need to kind of have a check-in, but I think that's going to be something through this process is just what kind of a cadence that we want to do with the public and just be thinking about that.
I would suggest that between you and Kiewit, take a look at the schedule and come up with an interface list. And the interface would either be with the committees or with the public or both. And give us a heads up that here's what it is and here's where it's scheduled about now.
And we'll work with.
I have a comment too, but Jake was here before me.
Oh,
Jake
yeah, Jake Edwards.
Hi, yes. Just want to highlight that the Raise Grant team is looking at early November to sort of showcase, do a public meeting to highlight the work done on the action plan that staff have developed through coordination with the local government planning departments, local transit operators, regional transit operators, ODOT, WashDOT, and other transportation stakeholders. So I could see that being something that we will engage with the public here in the next couple of weeks.
Good point.
So Jake, is that includes the connectivity to bike ped infrastructure, right?
Off the bridge.
Okay. That was actually the point I was going to bring up, that I suspect that that's going to attract or demand some public interest and public interaction as Kiewit gets into the design of that structure. People are going to have opinions, want to talk about it.
That's one of the ones I was thinking of too, Arthur, was making sure people understand where we are. There's some.
Yeah, I get more questions about that than anything.
Yeah.
But it's always, the simple answer, 90% of the time, someone says, so you guys know about e-bikes, right? And I said, yeah. That's great. Okay. That's about it.
Yeah.
What are our channels for delivering information to the public about the design and then managing the responses that come back in? How do we do that?
We have a communication subcommittee, but those are the folks that are supposed to be watching over all of that. We have Dan and his team that actually push the buttons and create the documents. So it's between those two organizations that are pushing that charge. Now, we as an authority need to be aware of and setting the overall strategy of when and what we want to share.
I'm just imagining, I think someone else said this too, that when we get into the design phase and we start showing actual design images to the public, that we will see an increase in responses from the public, and they will
Definitely
be specific.
Right.
They don't could be anything from color to bike lane width or whatever.
Right.
And so, like, what do they have they have your phone number? I mean, how does that get cataloged? And
So a couple different ways. One is through you all, because you're out in the communities and somebody will stop you and tell you, right? The other is we have a number of ways on the websites that people can. We've got an email address for directly emailing the authority. So it's all those different things, posting things on Facebook, people will respond and ask questions that way. So it comes from all different directions. Yeah.
okay.
So it's,
So another subject that I expect comments on the 6F mitigation discussion. So that's something that I'd like to get at least a little public comment on.
yeah,
And
that's on
that
our,
could be a couple of different articles. First off, what is it?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and then what are we looking at?
and the other thing that we want to do, and that we've talked about this a little bit, and we're still trying to noodle around what they'll do, but one of the questions I got was just folks wanting to understand when we talk about a drilled shaft, what's a drilled shaft?
Well, that's a good point.
Right, and we talk about a weathering steel, what's a weathering steel mean, right? And some of those things. So we talked about doing a series on stuff where we, pick a topic and cover it, right? Try to do it in a way that's not engineering, but still has engineering background, but something that's, not somebody.
I think it helps the public understand that we are making progress and here's what it's going to look like.
And we want to break it down into a way that's a little more digestible from folks.
Yeah, I mean, people like seeing, or I say people meaning me like seeing cross sections, diagrams of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think another article, but we're too early yet, is what's the river going to look like during construction?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of barges, a lot of equipment, a lot of cranes, and a lot of stuff.
So I think some of that will take, animations and I think we'll work on some ideas on how to do that. I don't know if anybody watches or maybe you like or dislike. I guess I'd like to hear some feedback on how WashDOT does a lot of their comms. If you've not seen any of their commercials or their Facebook posts or their social media, they are, for a DOT agency, are out of the box when it comes to communicating about their projects. And very innovative, have gotten tons of national exposure on how they communicate about projects. And it may be something we've joked about it, whether we're ready to start going that level. But
let's make sure we have this much funding, not that much funding.
And yeah, we do. We have a set budget for the next 2 years that we're trying to work towards, but they do a lot of things like that where they do it. They make it a little more fun and they make it a little more entertaining, but they explain a very specific point, right? And I think, things like that just draw people in and make it, and doing it in small chunks where it's not a 30-minute video about bridge engineering.
Yeah.
But that's something I think we should also look at and talk about more.
I think that people's interest is generally reasonably superficial on something like this. They want to know that the fundamentals are being talked about and that it's, we're getting more than 3 inches below the surface. I wouldn't go too deep in anything.
It's kind of like I said, what is a drill shaft? They don't want to know all the details behind how you designed one. It's just when you say it, what is that? So I think we need to work on some of that.
Well, and then as we get closer to construction, then the whole game is, how is this going to impact my traffic and getting across the current bridge when we're getting access on both sides? When we start tearing things up on the north side to build a roundabout, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, good thing about this project is 95% of it can be built without impacting the public in a big way. So, I think that's a positive thing that we have. So.
Right, and that's actually, people don't really, I've had people tell me they thought that we were closing down the old bridge to build a new one.
We've heard that.
Yeah, so just explain to people that we're building a new bridge next to it. And the hard part is when we're going to tie them in, and that's going to be a very small part of the project.
When you tell them, there's like this big sigh of relief, right? Of like,
exactly.
Okay.
Oh, the other thing is the boat ramp users.
Yes.
Currently, the plan is to not impact that, which I think originally there was a lot of noise about the opposite originally. So getting out the news that, no, it does not look like that's going to be impacted is
But I
important.
think there's something that we haven't thought about yet, which is we're still early days. I personally think we're gonna have to put some kind of a buoy system from that port out into the water so they don't just come out and turn right.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it at Abernathy, right? I mean, they're right underneath of the bridge is a public boat launching that they literally come out and go right through the construction zone.
But the construction company does this, right? This is not our job.
Yep.
But I think we're gonna have to make some kind of an agreement or interface with the port.
And it's a lot of it's gonna be public awareness and there's a lot of things that go on in there. So there'll be a lot of coordination of that.
Right. Anything else? Good question. Okay, when I look at we've already talked about the September DC trip. Upcoming action items, anything, Mike, you wanna?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Right Away because this is starting to become a topic. I'm gonna get with Right Away and start doing some of those presentations that we had put off. So anticipate in October. If there are very specific things that you would like us to focus on first, send me an email and let me know, and we'll start with a short 15-minute and just break it down into pieces. But we'll start doing that.
I looked down here, indirect cost analysis. Can we scratch that off now since we're
And yeah, we'll go through
project?
the 106 can be taken off as well. So.
Okay. Okay. Around the room, anybody have any other comments they would like to make or questions they'd like to ask before we close? None in the room here on video? Okay. Jake Anderson, you're good? Must be good.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. With that, our next meeting is October the 14th, 2 to 4 here in the office. And we're looking around the room one last time. We will go ahead and close the meeting. Thank you. And you can stop.